before we bring in John Fanta, in case you missed it, this was John Fanta after the Browns lost to the Cowboys. And we're going to see how John's feeling after the win against the Jaguars. But this was John after the loss to Dallas.
The thing that's nice right now is the sun that's shining. It shouldn't be. That was utterly embarrassing, pathetic, disgraceful, shameful. You gave that guy under center $230 million fully guaranteed. $230 million fully guaranteed. He's not great. He's not good. He's not even average. Right now, I put him on par with Bryce Young or Daniel Jones. He can go stand in line with them. Rip the Band-Aid off before it's too late, because the rest of that locker room knows it. Deshaun Watson's done. That first half against Dallas was an utter joke. I'm tired of hearing about rust. I'm tired of hearing excuses. I'm tired of hearing that the two-time NFL Coach of the Year, it's all his fault. Folks, he can't play. It ain't happening. Accept reality. I'm ticked.
There's a little joker in that.
And there he is, Johnny Fanta. John, how you doing today?
Angry Fanta. I love it, John.
What's up, buddy? What's up, man?
What's happening, guys? It's good to see you all. It's great to be on. Dust, it's good to see you
good
as
to
well.
See you too, Johnny.
I talked with you over the weekend, Jay. It's
Sure
always
did.
great to see you.
Hey, John, thanks. God, we've all been there, first of all. We've all been exactly where you were. And there's been probably 7,650 times since social media has existed that I've wanted to grab my phone and do exactly what you did. I'm guessing that there was a process before you hit send where you asked yourself, is this exactly what I want to do? Take me through that sort of that push-pull that you were thinking about before you sent it.
There was no push-pull, Jay. I went out in my backyard and I spoke what I thought was the truth. Now, look, I don't cover the Browns for a living. So, I got a couple of texts saying, how are the Browns going to feel about this? Look, I'm just going to say this. I believe the Cleveland Browns will continue. We all know will be around a lot longer than Deshaun Watson will be their quarterback. And I'll be honest with you right now. This past Sunday didn't change a lot of how I feel about Deshaun Watson. So I believe that sometimes, even when you're upset with something or when you're angry with something, and you guys have plenty of honest conversation on your show, and I expect to get counterpunched here, and I like that. I think sometimes you have to tell it like it is. And the reason why I went on that rant is because I am so tired, and I think all three of you are too, with the stale, national, same old Browns takes. I've seen the last week people on X or on social media, this whole meme, Mike, you've probably seen this. If you guys have it, if Disney's the happiest place on earth, name the saddest. And I've seen some people say, Cleveland Browns Stadium, now Huntington Bank Field. Not anymore. It's not supposed to be anymore. The same old Browns are supposed to be gone. This franchise has gone to the postseason 2 of the last 4 years. My standards, our standards, when you're paying number 4, the money that you're paying are not for Joe Flacco or Baker Mayfield or anybody before him. The standards are to win the Super Bowl now. Or at least that was what was supposed to be. And I think that my energy there was, we're not even at that level right now in week 1. Week 2, did we see some better signs? Yes, we did. But you could still say that we saw better signs and that there's still more that we've got to see for us to be convinced that this guy's the answer. He's still far from the answer in my book. And when you pay the kind of money the Cleveland Browns paid for him, that shouldn't even remotely be a question.
John, when you watch the game, now, I think one of the things that happened in the first game, I think everybody and their mom felt that way. I thought even if you are a Deshaun Watson, the hardest and the biggest proponent and the biggest fan of Deshaun Watson, you couldn't find nobody in the Eastern Hemisphere that said, "Oh, this is it. This is what we doing." People was like, "Listen, we gonna have to figure this out because this is if we go to Jacksonville." People was literally talking about if Jameis Winston is getting his arm warmed up because of the way Deshaun Watson looked. Obviously, he comes into Jacksonville game. You talked about it. He looks better. He looked better in the Jacksonville game. When you say, obviously, you're thinking about it in terms of, is this guy going to be worth the $230 or is he going to take us to the Super Bowl? There's a lot left to be desired for us to start saying that. But what are some things that you thought immediately after the Jacksonville game when you saw that game?
Well, what I immediately thought was if Ken Dorsey were at a Waffle House in Jacksonville or up in Buffalo that day doing some fishing, you wouldn't have known the difference. Kevin Stefanski took back his playbook. Kevin Stefanski took his team back. Kevin Stefanski said, I'm better than week 1. We're better than this, and we need to be better than this. Teams that start 0-2 do not get anywhere in the National Football League most of the time. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to go somewhere. Hot take or not, I still like what I saw from Cincinnati in week 2, even though they lost the game, more than I've liked what I've seen collectively from this Browns offense. The fact is that there's a reason why they scored a touchdown, one touchdown, this past week, and that is because Kevin Stefanski had a script on the opening drive that was his old ground and pound, jumbo sets. We're going to just out-physical you, out-muscle you. We're going to wear you down with long drives that produce touchdowns eventually, or hopefully do. And I give Deshaun credit for setting the tone and putting doubters away there on that opening drive. It was a sharp opening drive. They come out like that this week against the Giants at home. They're going to be a winning football team on Sunday. There's no doubt in my mind. But that was Stefanski. That was Kevin Stefanski having his team much more prepared. It did confirm what we all thought, that the team was not prepared to play week 1, that the preseason was not managed correctly, but it was Jim Schwartz's defense too. I thought Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah took week 1 personally, and it was reflected in the way that he played in week 2. Myles Garrett causes so many problems, and Alex Wright delivered the play of the game. But Owusu-Koramoah, guys, was all over the field. 7 tackles, 2 for a loss, as we could see. It was more than that, though. He was the leader. He was the alpha. He delivered. The defense stepped up on the road. That's a great step for them. The offense, when people say, what happened between the first half and the second half? I think it's the latest case of, under Kevin Stefanski, the Browns have been one of the best opening drive teams in the league throughout his tenure. They come out and they punch you. They have a quality first drive more times than they do not in his tenure. It's as a game goes on where, let's face it, in the moment, players got to make plays. I thought Watson made a couple of big plays. There's no question he found Jerry Jeudy a couple of times that made me say, all right, that's progress. That's material progress. But this is a scoring league. And the Browns were a playoff team a year ago. They're supposed to be one of the NFL's best teams now. At least that's my expectation for them. I don't know about you guys. I haven't seen that click yet. I'm hoping against an inferior opponent, against a very weak, a New York Giants team that's going to fire their coach by season's end, in my humble opinion. I think the end is near for Brian Daboll. The Cleveland Browns need to come out this Sunday and score at least 2 touchdowns. I hope 3 or 4. Get this offense going.
Fancy, you know my new partner, Matt Schumacher?
Love him. Great friend and an awesome guy.
He was, I love him too, and he was raving about you because I'm like, dude, I know Fanta. He comes on my show all the time. So,
yeah,
small world. Small world.
You guys are crushing it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I'm just trying to be you. I mean, we're just trying to be some John Fanta here. I mean, you're a rock star.
John,
Wait, can I ask John a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Real quick, John, we started this interview with your rant.
I was just being nice,
clip
Yeah, that's cool.
about Bill Belichick responding to your rant. John, when you saw Bill Belichick commenting on your rant, how did you feel knowing that you made it to the highest levels of NFL media with Bill Belichick being the one to comment on that?
You guys all know this. I appreciate the question, Mike, but my dad always said, well, when I was growing up, a Browns receiver would score a touchdown. For some reason, Josh Gordon pops in my head, all right? And I think he scored a touchdown in Oakland one time, and my dad blurted out, because Gordon's going crazy. The Browns are going crazy. They like cut the lead to 3. My dad blurts out from the couch, "Act like you've been there before." And I turn around to my dad and I go, "Dad, he hasn't, and we haven't." So to know what it feels like, we truthfully don't. Those were some dark years growing up watching Cleveland Browns football. You know what? Doing this job, and you guys all do it on a daily basis. Of course, we say a lot of things and do a lot of things. Certain things get picked up more than others. I didn't know that this rant would take off to the degree that it did. I spoke my mind and what I thought. I love the Cleveland Browns. I love all of our Cleveland sports teams. I'm a Clevelander. That was my passion speaking out because I think the Browns standards have been raised. What did it feel like? It's very humbling and obviously pretty cool. I mean, I would have never been able to predict. If I had told you guys 2 years ago, if any of us were talking and we would have been like, yeah, Bill Belichick's going to react to a rant from my behind after a week 1 NFL game, I would have been like, what happened in the world? What planet are we on? And how is Bill Belichick on the sidelines coaching? So
Right.
Yeah.
It's very humbling, and thank you for saying that.
All right, John. So looking at that game this past Sunday and the offense, you said it. They scored 1 touchdown in the game. Deshaun did some nice things, but, threw for $180, which is fine, and they won the game. That's great. Can they win like that all year? I mean, can they be a playoff team? Can they win in the playoffs like this?
No. 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 The answer to that question is a flat out no. They're going to win this week. Go ahead. I'll come back next week and apologize, but we'll have bigger problems than any apology. And then the following week, I think I've seen some narratives out there from some people that have covered the Browns for a long time that, they believed in 4-1 for this team. Did everybody forget that the Raiders went into Baltimore and beat the Ravens?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not chalking this week up.
Yeah.
Forget I ain't chalking this week up. Forget the.
I'll listen to this week, but John's exactly right. I keep hearing one Brown fan after another saying, oh, okay, so we got the Giants, then we got the Raiders, then we got the Commanders. So, when we move to 4-1, I'm like, whoa. Don't put anything in the bank. This is the NFL. The Eagles lost at home to a team they should have knocked out of the building.
So here's my take on this situation, and you guys can come back at me for this. Absolutely. I think that what we're going to see, or what we hope, here's the best case scenario for the Browns this year, right? The best case scenario, still in my mind, is that they build a cushion up here of some sort. I think they're going to be 3-2 through 5 games because I just think that the Giants and Washington cannot move the football against the Browns defense.
Right.
I think New York is going to have a ton of trouble. The stadium will be juiced again on Sunday. They're coming off a win. I see the weather. It looks great down there. It's going to have a real vibe and feel to it here in week 3. Week 4 is going to be hard. But then look at this stretch. Even look, the Chargers now look like a top 10 team in the league. Then they have the bye, and then they have the Saints. They're in week 11. The Saints now look like a team. That's going to be the Browns are going to be an underdog in that game in New Orleans, and they would be right now. They have had a ton of trouble in Denver. I guess my thought is this: after week 1, we had some takes, and the Dolphins game does change now, week 17, for what it is worth. And the Browns did win in Baltimore last year, but we all know that's not easy. I think that my thought process is this. I'm not in the class that Deshaun Watson is going to just recover this magic and be an amazing quarterback. And I hope that I am wrong in eating my words. But in the NFL, guys, we don't see a quarterback have this in-season seismic growth from like back half of the league to all of a sudden like top 10. I just don't think that he's going to be that way. Now, can he turn 180 into 240 or 250 or 260? I'd like to see it. But between some of the mistakes still being made, he's a bottom 10 quarterback in this league. The Browns don't need a top 10 quarterback. But they do need a guy that they can rely upon that gives them a chance with all of his weapons and with Nick Chubb coming back, a good leader, a top 15-ish quarterback in the NFL that gives them a chance to win against the good football teams. I do believe that Jameis Winston is capable of that. I do believe that he is capable of that. I'm not ready to believe, because here's the thing. Kevin Stefanski made a guy that Jet fans, my Jet buddies, were laughing at us when we picked up Joe Flacco last year. They said, why would you do that? If Kevin Stefanski could turn water into wine with Joe Flacco,
yeah, that's a good point.
Why can't he do it with a guy who went 5-2 down the stretch with New Orleans a year ago?
No,
I think
that's a great
Browns
point.
Be 3-2 through 5. I think Watson could have a reality check against the Eagles defense. I'm just going to be honest. I really do think that that's possible. I something in my head says he's not making it through the 8th game of this season. I hope to God I'm wrong. I hope he pans out, but I can't get past what I'm watching, what my eyes are seeing, and I think for the Browns, I just hope that they build some sort of a 3-2, 4-1 would be great, so that when they have to rip this Band-Aid off, it's not too late.
I love your point about what Stefanski was able to do with Joe Flacco, and just imagine what he can do with a better chunk of clay in Jameis Winston, who is younger, has a stronger arm, and has been successful in this league. Not quite to the point that Joe Flacco in winning a Super Bowl, but I like that point. I think it's dead on.
Jay, I want to bring this point up that I talked to G. Bush about over the weekend, and Dustin, I'd even want to get your thought process with this too, and it might lead to a bigger discussion on your show. Maybe I'm gonna set off the igniter here. For all the people that criticize Stefanski and don't like him, you could disagree with certain things the coach does. Of course you can. We're all fans. Or if you're not a fan, you're a media member, you can disagree with a coach. It's part of the job. It's part of what we do. We analyze everything. But I can tell you this much. If Kevin Stefanski, if right now in NFL circles, Stefanski's agent just sent a little dribble out there and said, would you guys ever be interested in Kevin Stefanski as a head coach of your team? I guarantee you right now, there would be a giant eagle deli line of people.
You're right.
Like a Saturday morning, right? Mm-hmm. On the west or east side, there'd be people taking numbers to talk to a guy who made the Cleveland Browns a winner.
Absolutely. He's made the playoffs twice in 4 years, and neither time Deshaun Watson was the quarterback. And he's done it with guys that no one expected he could do it with. John, Sean King is in the wings, and we can't wait to hear what he has to say about the growth in Deshaun Watson from week 1 to week 2. You may want to stick by and listen to that. We always appreciate your thoughts. I happen to love angry Fanta, and I hope I get to see more of it. It was fun to watch. Thanks for joining us.